Hey there, and welcome to Workforce Pulse, the podcast for recruitment and staffing founders who are ready to grow, scale, and shake up the industry. I'm your host, Kirutika, and I'm so glad you're here. This is where we have real, no-nonsense conversations about what it takes to build a thriving business in recruitment and staffing. Forget the fluff. We're all about strategies that actually work, shared by the people who've been there and done it. A quick shout out to our sponsor, Ambrosial Automations. At Ambrosial Automations, we are kind of our behind the scene partner for growth. We help recruitment and staffing businesses streamline their operation, bring in quality leads, boost sales and scale, all without the risky upfront costs. We work on revenue share model, so we don't succeed unless you do. If you're curious about how it works, head over to ambrosialautomations.com for a free 12-month growth plan that is tailored just for you. All right, let's dive in. Today, we have a very special guest joining us, Tommy, the president and co-founder of EZPZ Videos. He has been instrumental in developing short-form TikTok-style training videos that resonate with today's audience. His collaboration with Prositions has led to a creation of micro-learning content spanning topics such as leadership, customer relations, HR compliance, and communication skills. Tommy, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Kirutika. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, the pleasure is all ours. So, Tommy, tell us about yourself, your background, and role within EZPZ Videos and Prositions.
Yeah. I am originally from Iowa, so shout out to anyone from the Midwest. I currently live in New York City. I went to college at the University of Iowa, and I majored in theater and microbiology, and I thought I might, either become a doctor or become an actor. And then I ended up applying for grad school for acting and got into the Yale School of Drama, which was a dream come true. And I went to Yale for grad school. And after graduating, moved to New York City. As anyone in the arts or as an actor may know, to supplement your income, you have to get, a day job. So I did serving for a little bit. And then by chance, I actually posted my resume on Monster. And the next morning I got two calls. One was from a temp agency and the other was from my former boss. And she was the lead recruiter at a legal staffing firm, a boutique agency that still exists today. Was called Yorkson Legal, and I joined. And so I was there for 2 years and I learned a lot. It was during the Great Recession. So it was a legal staffing agency that did temp to perm, and permanent staffing. And it was a learning experience, is a nice way of saying it, because we staffed huge projects in the legal world. When big lawsuits happen or cases, they sometimes hire up to 100 or more contract attorneys to do the discovery phase of work. And so me and Sarah, my former boss, would spend weeks essentially digging into Bullhorn was the software that they used, and and then in a rapid sort of way, interview tons of new attorneys and then staff those projects. So in addition to those large projects that I worked on, we also did temp to perm. So pulled from the pool of candidates that we had already met. We would every day be meeting, new candidates and interviewing them. And so then we would staff a lot of like legal secretary positions and legal assistants, and then do temp jobs as well.
Right.
But I really didn't realize when I took that job how much I would learn and how it would kind of change the rest of my professional life. I think that I always advise people that in terms of your career, be careful what you wish for, be careful what you choose, because when you join a company, you spend a majority of your time there. And if it's something that you like or you're curious about, it will have an impact on, both how you think about yourself professionally and obviously how other people view you. So then in 2010, the very end, my father sold his last company, which was a leading learning management system company, and it was very successful. So they had about 4 million users. It was a very crafted learning management system that was very widely recognized in the industry as being one of the best LMSs. And they had 4 million end users. Their clients included like Google, Dell, a lot of federal government agencies, and they got a lot of investment, and then they were bought out essentially by a private equity firm that then merged it with a company called SumTotal.
Okay.
And so when that happened, this is the nitty gritty, down and dirty details. But essentially, my dad and his executive team had built a very successful software company in Iowa, and Iowa's not known for technology. When the acquisition happened, there were about 40 plus people who had been permanent employees who were going to be losing their jobs. And because my dad had worked with them for almost 10 years, he felt a responsibility to take care of them.
Yeah.
And which is, very noble. I look up to my dad in lots of ways, but particularly as a business leader. That company, which was his second company, in less than 10 years was on the Inc. 5000 and Inc. 500 lists for 5+ consecutive years. And so garnered a lot of attention. And then, he got to a place where he had done kind of professionally what he had wanted to achieve in his life. And then when it was sold, you have 40 people in Iowa. And so immediately he gave me a call. Believe it or not, I was still working my legal recruiting job. And he said, what are you doing with your life? And I was like, well, this is what I'm doing. And he's like, well, I have an idea for a new company. Do you want to help? And so he had always worked in the talent management area of, learning and development, right? So in the middle of the talent management, you can think about it's like a sort of 4-pillared house, right? And talent and management is in the middle, and outplacement's on the end, and recruiting is on the front end, right?
Yeah.
And so he didn't really know much about how companies hire.
Yeah.
But because I had 2 years of experience in the down and dirty area of legal recruiting during the Great Recession, by the way. So
Yeah.
I brought that up to say I would literally interview lawyers who would be in the conference room with me, and they'd say, yeah, I'm interested in this contract attorney position for $32 an hour. Oh, and by the way, you're going to submit me to a firm where I used to charge $400 an hour. So that was a
That's
real
harsh.
it was a time of a lot of change for a lot of people in different industries. But I will say in the legal recruiting and staffing world, it was particularly stark and scary. And that firm that I worked for had a model which I think I'd recommend to anybody listening. If you're creating a business, it's important to have a couple lines of business to make sure that you're okay no matter what happens. So, in staffing, you have, the big players like, Korn Ferry, Spencer Stewart, names that probably a lot of your listeners have heard before. And they do executive level permanent recruiting and do very, very well. But there's a lot of medium and smaller size firms. And to stay, afloat, to survive, you need multiple lines of business that in case, your permanent staffing, jobs don't keep coming in. If you do, temp to perm staffing, as a business owner, you will set yourself up for more success than if you just relied on one line of business. So,
Got it.
So anyway, I'll wrap up by saying that question. That's how I got started. And so I worked with my dad and the CFO, and we started Prositions in 2011 with a couple other executives. And we created a model that was different than other outplacement companies in the industry. So outplacement, which is not really a word or a business area that a lot of people are familiar with, But essentially it's kind of a misnomer. So we don't technically place people like in recruiting. What we do is when companies have reductions in force or companies lay an individual off, they will team up with outplacement providers like Prositions.
Okay.
Partner with a career coach essentially to get that person on their feet and as prepared and motivated to find a new job as quickly as possible.
Got it.
With that group of people that had come from geo learning,
Mm-hmm.
when we started, we said, the big players in the space like Right Management, Lee Hecht Harrison, there are many. They have a brick and mortar business model. So they
Yeah.
usually have an office, downtown in a city near you. And we looked at starting Prositions because we had been in the technology and virtual space and SaaS space. That was very successful on our part. We said, well, why don't we bring that to outplacement? There is no need. This is 2011. There is no need for an office location. If we can provide virtually excellent or the best coaching services, let's do that and let's see how it goes. And pretty quickly, so all of those people that were jobless within 45 days had secured full-time employment by
Oh,
working
that's
with
great.
us. And so that was our first indication that we were doing something very successful.
Yeah.
And yeah, fast forward 10 years later, or no more, it's I can't believe it's been 13 years. But that's an important line of business at Prositions still. And it's, I think, a really good business to be in. Coaching obviously has really
Yeah.
exploded.
Yeah. That is.
Excuse me. And it is a very stressful thing to do. I built a department from, just all of us internally to 25 plus of the best, most experienced senior career coaches across North America, and they still work with us. And we saw it grow quickly and sustain itself, and it's an important line of business for us. And it's very validating for me because I had never tried to build a department before. I didn't really know what
Yeah.
I was doing. Hey, I honestly had imposter syndrome for like 5 years, but I guess people like to work with me. And
Yeah.
I knew a lot about recruiting, and I'm
Right.
fast worker. I'm diligent. I love working with people. And, I feel like I am naturally a coach or a
Yeah.
teacher. And so I really work well with other people who are teachers. And that's what a great coach is.
Yeah.
And,
That's right.
yeah.
And so, how did you start EZPZ videos then?
So EZPZ Videos was formed in 2020 during the pandemic. So I have this experience of in times of great economic stress, starting a business, which
Yeah.
may sound counterintuitive, but it's actually
It's been working out for you.
yes. It's not easy. Uh, as my dad likes to say, he's been an entrepreneur for almost 40 years, and he says, you know, there are statistics out there that tell you that less than a third of new businesses survive, and he's like, the
Yeah.
dirty secret is actually more than half of businesses that are formed survive, but the other business owners just don't want you to know that.
Mm,
And I've always loved that because starting a new business is very difficult, no
yeah.
matter what industry it's in, and you kind of, if you have a good idea, I learned from another excellent entrepreneur that I know named Kevin Ryan, who was the president of DoubleClick and he was the founder of Gilt Group and other companies. He's a wonderful, wonderful business mentor of mine. He said, everybody's got great ideas. He's like, oh, what separates the great people or business leaders from everyone else is executing on those ideas
Yeah.
consistently. And so we formed EZPZ Videos in 2020 because Prositions started as an outplacement company. And then over the intervening like 5 or 6 years, we started to get microlearning content. So microlearning is just essentially kind of shorter version
Yeah.
e-learning courses. And then that became a real successful line of business for us. It represents about a third of our revenue. And in 2020, my dad and I again talked, and I had worked on a TV show behind the camera, and that was another kind of trial by fire experience because it was so crazy. Because of my acting background, and
Yeah.
but that was really fun, albeit wild. And so we got our heads together, and we said, look, micro learning is great. It does well. We have 5,000 plus titles, and they generate money. But like, what else could we do? How do we look to the future to see how people who are younger,
Yeah.
how do they access content, right? Because the people who are 11, 12 years now, old now, in 10 years are going to be in the workforce, and they have ways that they like to do things. And if you tap into that, that's really how you kind of can tell the future of business,
Yeah.
hopefully. So we said we should combine my production know-how and learn from the successful micro learning business and start creating what we call nano learning. Nano learning is just shorter content that is shot or edited to be vertical so that it is playable and most, best on your mobile device.
Got it.
So we started that in 2020, and now we've got over 1,000 titles and modules and courses, and we've launched those with direct sales as well as with our distribution network. And, so we're kind of always out on the lookout for great content or producing great content with people who we think have something unique to share. And I'm happy to report it's going well, and hopefully it'll do even better in the future.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that too.
We're in Kirutika, we're in times in the United States where unfortunately things are really hard to predict.
Yeah.
And it's from a personal standpoint, it's insane. Actually, it's actually truly insane. It's unfortunate. It's tragic, actually. And so, with all of the changes happening in policy, in politics, it's just it makes it hard for business owners because obviously businesses would like stability to be able to say, hey, we made $1 million in this business this year just by doing what we do well.
Yeah.
And we do that and grow next year. And the environment that we're in now is changing so rapidly. It makes it really difficult for everybody to make a living. So
that's true. That's true. So on the same lines, are there any big challenges that you're seeing for EZPZ videos or Prositions?
Yes. So outplacement does well kind of all the time. It's challenging to just, you can't, in our experience, you can do research, right? There's something called the Warren Act, and it is a law by which companies of a certain size have to notify the government that they're going to do a reduction in force of a certain size. I think it's over 10 people, maybe 20, 25. So that law is interesting because it can provide outplacement companies or recruiters with what's coming down the pipeline, right? Possibly. Although you don't necessarily know the date, but they have to give notice. So we've used that as a kind of research indicator for where the market may be headed or where industries may be, going through change and maybe reducing their workforces. But even so, you never know, right? You can, if it's not already contact that you have, anybody in sales knows it takes like 25 touch points
that's true.
from the time you get somebody on the call to signing a contract with them. So, but I would say that that model that we created, the virtual coaching, outplacement coaching model, has been a very good bet for us. And so, and actually during times of economic change, downturn, usually our outplacement business does a lot,
Okay.
which makes sense.
Yeah.
An
So you
easy,
guys are pretty industry agnostic. So it depends on,
that's right.
yeah. So you create micro learning or nano learning
Yes,
courses for any and every industry. Is that the
correct.
case?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, that's nice.
yeah. And then in the outplacement side too, we're agnostic. We are currently gonna actually we create software and then we obviously utilize software. So my title at Prositions is the VP of Technology Solutions. So
Okay.
what I do is I make sure the software works well. Um, and then I also, go out and look for software that's better. And so
Got
right
it.
now we have a database system that we use for all of the outplacement and kind of billing stuff. And it's worked fine for us for 10 years, but now I'm like, yeah, but I think we could get something better. So I started to do some research, and I'm talking to other companies that have been in this space, and you know software needs to be agile, flexible, affordable.
Yeah.
It needs to work for us, right?
Right.
I think we haven't even brought up AI. Obviously, that's a huge technological jump that's happened in
Yeah.
a couple of years, right? Maybe the biggest technological shift in our
Yeah.
lifetimes, besides
Yeah.
the
The
internet,
internet.
the mobile
Yeah.
phone, right? Exactly, or the mobile phone. Um, but I bring that up because we are using AI,
Mm-hmm.
but we use it in a smart way where we say, this is you got a blank piece of paper and you need to learn,
Mm-hmm.
you want to write a description for a course, a video. It's always better to start with something than just a blank
Right.
piece of
Right.
paper, right? So, we've been utilizing AI, and that's great. But it's a whole new world.
Yeah.
Every day, a new AI company comes out.
Launches. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's really hard to keep up with just the news, let alone, hey, what which AI would work best, for us.
Yeah. That's
So,
true.
and from a business owner's perspective, it's intimidating because you're worried, well, are we ever going to need recruiters anymore? Are we going to
Yeah.
need coaches? And so we believe yes. And it's the same in our content side. So we have courses that use AI narrators,
Yeah.
and they're cool. They've definitely gotten better, even in the last year, to the point where the narrators that are, hired actors by these companies, they do actually get royalties, which is, I like to hear that as a former actor who still acts sometimes and produces. I think that's important, actually, Kirutika. I think if you're going to work with a company, I think it's really important to know their business practices and their
Yeah.
philosophies. So
That's
we
true.
actually work only with AI companies that we know publicly state that they pay the actors who are their, avatars or
Yeah.
their models.
Yeah.
And so, but we have to say that that's all fine and dandy. It can certainly help you create content quickly, but it's never going to replace people wanting to see people who
Yeah.
are real.
So, in when it comes to recruitment or staffing, the human touch or even HR, right? The human part of it is gonna remain. The AI or automations are going to come in and automate the redundant manual tasks, the admin work that everybody's been doing. So, which is kind of, which increases the error or slows down the processes. Probably that's where the AI is going to fit. But obviously, it's not going to take over any kind of jobs which requires human touch. So,
That's right.
we all are safe.
That's one of our taglines, high tech,
Yeah.
high touch for
Yeah.
Prositions. That was our first tagline.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
yeah, so it's good to hear you say that. And I really believe it.
Yeah.
It has moved the outplacement and related to recruiting. It has definitely moved to more reliant on technology or
Yeah.
virtual.
Hmm.
I created a course a couple of years ago with a wonderful executive coach and business leader, thought leader. His name is Dr. Santor Nishizaki, and he wrote a book called Working with Gen Z. And he is literally an expert on millennial and Gen Z. And in his book and in our course, he brought something out which I thought was really interesting, is that so technology, as people know, does have an effect on your psychology. And it's particularly egregious for young men, actually. Maybe you know that. But what I didn't know was, this is bringing out my nerdy side, my science side. There's they believe it's a protein. So the protein that's responsible for carrying serotonin and dopamine in your brain. Dopamine is the rush that you feel when you see something online, you click it and you like it. And serotonin is similar, but serotonin lasts longer. It's more associated with like peace,
and happiness, satisfaction.
Satisfaction, right? What's interesting is that the protein that carries both of those in the brain from one synapse to another is the same protein, meaning if you have a rush of dopamine, then there's not enough of that protein left to carry serotonin. So the more that you activate your instant gratification, the less of that molecule that is available to then sustain your satisfaction. That's something I had never heard before. It's in his book. This is particularly hard on our young men. I'm sure it also affects young women, but I'm not sure, where you live and in your culture. Obviously, in the United States, I do think maybe, he says this in his book, and it struck me really personally because I'm, a man. I was a young boy. I was 14 when the internet came out. Of course, I was obsessed with it. I don't think I used it too much. But now technology is so integrated in our lives. And I think that the mobile phone is more addictive than the computer. And so, and so I think all of that is to say, on a personal level, you really have to be conscious in your decision making about not accessing technology, because, and if you're a parent, you have to do that with your kids. And and I've read before, the people who started the technology don't allow their children to be an iPad or an iPhone, right? And
so these on the same lines that you were saying, when we watch such shorts, right? YouTube shorts and Instagram, TikTok, where it gives us, and we're not learning anything. We're just watching people, some influencers doing something, or even if we use that technology to watch one video, some useful video. Let's say your passion is carpentry, right? So you want to watch how they're gonna, finish a product. So that helps. But when we watch a smaller, shorter content, it kind of, like you said, the dopamine hit rush kind of especially for young children. So what happens is their brain is developing. And these days, if you see, even a small kid has an iPad or has has his own or her own cartoon or show to watch. So it's like, even to babies, parents give such form of content, which is, well, again, since we are not all nerdy in your words, or probably we are not in touch with what's happening and what can happen to our kids, we tend to just ignore or such things because we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But recently, a lot of articles are coming up where young children are going into depression. They're having other kind of mental issues, which is again tying back to us accessing a lot of such short form contents. And so that's something I guess everybody needs to know and take a action towards.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, hey, it's getting personal. I don't mind sharing. It's like I've definitely struggled with mental health issues in my life.
Yeah.
It's been very scary.
Yeah.
And the hard thing about mental health issues is oftentimes you don't realize that you have that.
Yeah.
You don't realize that you're depressed
Yeah.
until other people are like, "Hey, why can't you get out of bed for 2 weeks?"
Yeah.
You don't realize that your anxiety is at such a level because I'm a type A personality. Aries is my sun sign. Um, I have bursts of extreme productivity. So, and it's usually about for 3 years. I mean, I went straight from college to Yale for 3 years, and I was going to class 6 days a week from 9 a.m. to 2 a.m.
Yeah.
3 years. And then after that kind of extreme output, of course, I didn't actually collapse, but it's so much work. It's so hard
Yeah.
that um, I have to be careful and keep tabs on my own ambition because, like you're saying, you can't keep that up for forever.
Yeah.
I could keep it up for 3 years, but when your body
You
starts
should,
saying,
yeah, you should make sure that you're not burning out.
"Don't burn out," yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you should have that check.
And other people's level for burnout I'm sure is actually a lot lower than mine. I don't know. I haven't studied it or asked, but yeah, I forget sort of the original question that you asked.
It was,
I don't even
I'm so
remember.
sorry. It was about what challenges you are seeing in Prositions and EZPZ videos.
So the challenge that you brought up about
Hmm.
short form content being too addictive and your learning not being able to like actually for the learning to sink in.
Yeah.
I don't think that short form content is bad necessarily.
Hmm.
I think it's more about the
What you're seeing.
yeah, yes, and the volume of it. If you, I mean,
Yeah.
it should seem quite straightforward, but I kind of have to remind myself. It's like, well, if I watch 50 videos a day
Hmm.
that are a minute long, I'm not probably not going to be able to retain as much as if I watch 10 videos
Yeah.
I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
As any learning expert would tell you, I think learning styles has sort of been uh, like everything
Changing it.
changing.
Yeah.
I think the old idea was that there are fixed learning styles and that you're definitely a kinesthetic learner, you're definitely a visual learner, you're definitely an audio learner. And what I've read is that that's not entirely true. I think people have a combination, right? Uh,
Yeah.
and that is not even considering accessibility, right?
Yeah.
But I think we all have some sort of combination, and there's certainly areas of styles of learning that help us retain what we learn longer.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true.
so it's good to know what works for you, uh,
Yeah.
and it's good as a business leader too to know. To me, it comes back to theater and acting and being an artist, which is I know what I like, I know what resonates with me, and I love working with people. And if I am with a group of people and we all, work well together and we're all passionate about the same thing, great leaders know, you have to create purpose, get buy-in, develop yourself and others, and deal with change management.
Yeah.
And if as a leader, you can really not only know what makes you tick, but know what the people you work with, what makes them tick,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's not about you as a leader. It's about other people.
Them. Yeah.
It is. And the best leaders, and I love this, it's an African proverb, but it's if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to
Yeah.
go far, go together.
Yeah.
And it's so true. My whole life, working in theater is not a solo practice.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to work with people. You have to learn how to work well with them and
Hmm.
understand, what makes other people tick. And then also like,
Yeah.
how can we all how
Yeah.
can we all launch a show together? Not
Yeah. Got it. And it's a good thing that since and well, that's where we our Gen Zs or the next generation is. They like short form content.
yes.
And the good thing is, I would say that you guys are making it informative. So for the thing that they like, that is, they want to consume the content in a short form, you're not replacing that. You're just adding more value and information to it, which makes them like it and learn more. So that's a great initiative. So tell us about the opportunities that lie ahead for Prositions or EZPZ videos.
The opportunities.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for 2025.
we we're looking to form stronger partnerships with other companies,
Okay.
and by that I mean I've spent a lot of my time in the last couple of years kind of going directly out to people who either have content online, videos, or I think could make great content. And believe it or not, it's actually quite hard to call someone up and say, hey, you've got 25 videos up on YouTube. Why don't you give those to me? And I'm not going to say that they're mine. Well, we have an agreement, but let me sell them for you.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it's actually quite hard to get people to buy into that. But an example I'll give, when we started, we have a business partner in Des Moines, and they are a communications consulting firm, and they have a full-fledged studio, and they create video content all the time. They were put there; they use it as an internal resource to help in their communications consulting work. Right? They don't actually sell the video content. So we approached the owner and said, "Hey, Ro, could we, come to an agreement, and could we sell your 100+ video library? You're giving it away for free. You're putting it up on YouTube. Are you making any money on it?" She's like, "No." She's like, "Okay, yeah, let's give it a try." And in the first year, the revenue was over $100,000. So we were like, well, that works.
Yeah.
So we're looking for more partnerships like that, because it's actually hard to go out and kind of convince people who don't, sometimes you do have a lot of videos. We just signed up a German based YouTube star, and she was doing the same thing. And she said, I don't know. And I said, why? It doesn't hurt to try, right?
Yeah.
And she's doing very, very well. And the last time I spoke to her, she's just like, how can I send you more content? So we're looking for partnerships like that, where it's
Okay.
either a company producing videos regularly or an individual who has a library. So we see a lot of potential for growth in that area. We've partnered with a company that provides, it's a communication tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's an app, texting, web-based software that's excellent. And we are in beta testing at the moment with a couple of our
Okay.
big clients,
Mm-hmm.
because either very soon or by 2030, 70 to 80% of all workers will be deskless.
Yeah.
And so that really is encouraging for us, because it means that, well, if you want to get content out in front of people, it's going to have to be on their smartphone or mobile device.
Yeah.
So this partnership that we just are in right now, I'm really excited for when that launches in earnest, because I have beta testing with 2 clients, and then I have a client that's already just like, tell me more about this EZPZ train, because I've got workers out in the field and
Mm-hmm.
they don't have the ability to access an LMS. So
Uh-huh.
help.
Got it.
The other opportunity I think we have is, and I'll finish by saying that a lot of organizations and companies want to create their own content, which
Hmm.
is wonderful. We
Yeah.
partner with a big California-based healthcare company, and they actually videotaped their procedures for their healthcare workers, and then they put it up in our system, and that's how the people that they train access it. And we're like, yes, absolutely fabulous. Like, this is what we want you to do. This is what we want.
Yeah.
Create your own content and also use our content. And
Yeah.
if there's content that you need, we can work with you to create it, or advise you, and however you want to do it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but the challenge I see is with AI, especially, is people may think, oh, I can create all my content. I don't need a learning
Mhm.
development person. I don't need to team up with a company like EZPZ Videos or Prositions. But I will say, being in the trenches, and I have for a couple of years, it's a lot harder to make good content than you think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
It feels like Hollywood. Like
Yeah.
it feels like I don't know I have no idea what's gonna sell.
Yeah.
I'll market a lot of stuff and I know some of it's gonna land, but I can't tell you next year if it's gonna do well again or it's gonna
Yeah. That's there.
fluctuate. Yeah, it fluctuates away. But I would encourage organizations, to definitely explore creating your own content, especially if
Yeah.
you have L&D people or not even, because people don't care about the formal niceness of the content, right?
Yeah.
TikTok has proven this and bore it out, right?
Yeah.
Things don't need to be that flashy. You get
That's
the
true.
point across, be personable, have an intro and an outro,
Yeah.
bada bing, bada boom. But
That's right.
so you'd be surprised at what engages or interests other people, and you may be stopping yourself because it's not good enough, but
Yeah.
as an artist I can tell you, don't worry about being a perfectionist, right?
Yeah.
Good is the enemy of great, but you'd be surprised about what other people think is great content.
That's true. That's true. So today we learned a lot about outplacement, about the content, and how the short form nano learning courses are actually helping our next generation make a difference and choose what they want to watch. So I guess on that note, today's episode we're gonna be wrapping up today's episode of Workforce Pulse. Huge thanks to our guest Tommy for sharing his incredible insights on all these key topics. And now, before we go, Tommy, where can people find you? And if they want to connect with you or learn more about your work, what's the best medium to contact you?
Yeah, you can visit the Prositions website, www.prositions.com. The EZPZ Videos website is also up. I'd like to make some changes to it, so stay tuned for that. But the address is ezpzvideos.com. You can also contact me on LinkedIn. Obviously, LinkedIn /Tom E. Russell. E is an elephant. I'd happy to connect them. And if people reach out to you and they want further information or contact, I'm happy to provide it. I'd love to.
Perfect. So make sure you follow Tommy on LinkedIn and check out EZPZ Videos website when it's ready, and Prositions website as well.
Yes.
So to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And one more time, if you're stuck in the grind of manual processes or struggling to grow, we can help you optimize operations, bring in leads that convert, boost sales, and scale without the upfront risk. Head over to ambrosialautomations.com to get your free custom 12-month growth plan. All right, that's it for today. Thanks again, Tommy. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Let's build, grow, and keep the workforce pulse alive. See you next time.